Today's video, we're going to be talking about how to determine the age of an individual based on skeletal remains. When we're talking about estimating age, we can also take a look at the epiphysis, so commonly called the growth plate, and that's the visible line that shows you where cartilage is being replaced by bone on one of the long bones. So normally we take a look at the humerus and the femur. So we've got this drawing here from an anatomy textbook. So basically we've got the head of the femur here, and then the body or shaft is here, and then points that we're going to be talking about later are the greater trochanter. So the greater trochanter starts being created at about the 4th year of age, and then this epiphysis here will connect with the shaft of the femur around the age of 18. Until then, you would have a layer of cartilage there. So some of you guys, your greater trochanters are joining that shaft, and yeah, it's a special time when that happens. We also have the lesser trochanter here, which appears around the 13th or 14th year, and then joins the body around the 18th year. And then the head will join around the 18th year, and then at the bottom, that'll join around the 20th year. So once that joins, your legs aren't going to get any longer. So we're looking for the head of the long bones fusing to the shaft. And then we've also got general aging concerns. So as you get older, you're going to be breaking down your bones faster than you're building them back up. After 30 years, those bones are going to be deteriorating faster than they are produced, but you can slow it down by exercise. Geez, exercise is wonderful. I should probably do it. So as your bones become frail and less dense, they become porous. If you remember, osteo is bone, and then porosis is basically porous bones. So we can take a look at the normal bone matrix here, and then with osteoporosis, that's what you get there. Now, the number of the bones and their conditions can tell us person's age, health, and the amount of calcium in the diet. Now, obviously, within a range. So if a person's malnourished, they're going to have, less calcium in their bones because they're taking in less calcium. So we can use this as a guideline to estimate age. What I would do, I would go ahead and pause this, then go and do the homework part, and then come back and finish the rest of the video once I'm done with the homework. Just a thought. Or watch the video all the way through. Anyways, so we've got the humerus bones in the head fusing. That happens around age 4 to 6. And then fusing to the shaft around 18 to 20. So pretty much like the femur. On the femur, we've got that greater trochanter first appearing around age 4. The lesser trochanter appears between 13 and 14. The femur head fuses to the shaft around 16 to 18. And then that bottom, the condyles, join the shaft around the age of 20. In your shoulder, between the ages of 18 and 24, we've got the clavicle and the sternum closing. So that is your collarbone, and then your sternum runs in between your ribs. In the pelvis, the pubis, ischium are almost completely united between the ages of 7 and 8. And then the ilium, ischium, and pubic bones fully ossified by 20 to 25. And then all the segments of the sacrum. So the sacrum is that second to last part of your spine. Those all unite between the ages of 20 and 30. Skeletal trauma is also something that we can identify on a skeleton, especially anything, if there's trauma to the skeleton, either, antemortem or postmortem, we can identify that. So, if there's bones left outside, they're subject to weathering, rodents chewing on them. So we have skeletal trauma analysis, and it's basically taking a look at the marks on the bones to determine whether those were a cause of death or something that was received post-mortem. So sharp versus blunt force. So a blunt force trauma will have cracks radiating out from the site of an impact and more damage to the surface of the bone than a sharp force. Gunshot wounds are going to obviously leave a hole with some cracks radiating from them. If we have a fracture in a living bone, oftentimes it's going to, if it's parallel to the length of the bone, it fractures in a spiral pattern. So it's kind of coming down here and turning. It doesn't just break straight. Whereas if that bone is no longer living and it's dried out, they'll break perpendicular to their length. So they would just break transverse like so. So facial reconstruction is something else that we can use to identify a person using their skeletal remains. So it can be used to identify victims of explosions or blunt force trauma. Basically what they do is they take a skull and they can rebuild it from those skull measurements. Now this is really time intensive, so it's not often done. It uses facial markers at critical locations, and then clay is added to follow the height of those markers. And nowadays we have something that we call video superimposition, where you take an image of that skull and compare it to a photograph of that individual. The first time anyone did a facial reconstruction was in 1895. A fellow by the name of Wilhelm His used the skull of Johann Sebastian Bach to reconstruct his face in clay. I mean, geez, talk about a fanboy. And then here's another one that's been done more recently, where they've taken the skull of the Egyptian king Tutankhamun and used that to recreate what he would have looked like when he was alive. And then next to it is a little statue of Tutankhamun when he was alive. And you can see there's a lot of similarities there.